Hello, I'm Clarissa Gaitan, and I will be talking about the different types of domestic violence. What is domestic violence? Domestic violence is the willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual and/or abusive behavior as part of a systematic pattern of power and control perpetrated by one intimate partner against another. This is an epidemic that is affecting individuals in every community, regardless of age, economic status, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality. This can result in physical injury, psychological trauma, and even death. Types of violence. Types of violence to a spouse or a family member. There are 5 steps of violence or abuse that an abuser tends to do to their spouse. These are physical violence, sexual violence, psychological violence, emotional abuse, and financial abuse. When it comes to physical violence, it includes pushing, slapping, grabbing, hitting with an object, use of a knife, or a gun. Sexual violence can include forcing the victim to have intercourse, making her or him to do sexual things against her or his will. Psychological violence may be intimidation, threatening, physical harm to self, menacing, blackmailing, harassment, destruction of pets, and poverty. Emotional abuse can be when the abuser is embarrassing or shaming the victim with put-downs, name-calling, silent treatment, manipulating the victim's feelings and emotions to induce guilt. And lastly, financial abuse. Financial abuse can be when the abuser wants to maintain total control over financial resources, including victims' earned income, withholding money, and/or access to money, forbidding employment. Physical violence. Physical violence occurs when someone uses a part of their body or an object to control a person's actions. Physical violence includes, but is not limited to, using physical force which results in pain, discomfort, or injury, and assault with a weapon. This can lead from beating to murder. On average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. In regards to physical abuse, there's an estimate of 1.3 million women who are victims of physical assault by an intimate partner each year. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse occurs when a person is forced to unwillingly take part in sexual activity. Sexual abuse includes, but is not limited to, touching in a sexual manner without consent, forced sexual intercourse, beating sexual parts of the body, forced prostitution, and humiliating, criticizing, or trying to control a person's sexuality. Approximately women between ages 18 through 24 are most commonly abused by an intimate partner. Many of these women are young at age and do not realize that they are being sexually abused by an intimate partner. More than 50% of the incidents are committed by a known offender, than about 40% are mostly strangers. The third type of abuse or violence is psychological abuse, and it occurs when someone uses threats and causes fear in a person to gain control. Physical violence includes, but is not limited to, threatening to harm the person or her or his family if she or he leaves, threatening to harm oneself, threats of violence, inappropriately controlling the person's activities. This is a form of brainwashing in which the abuser degrades the victim to the point that she feels she can't live without him. It often starts out by the abuser wanting to control little things. This can severely affect the victim. Emotional abuse. Emotional abuse occurs when someone says or does something to make a person feel stupid or worthless, which includes but is not limited to name calling, blaming all relationship problems on the person, destroying possessions, jealousy, and humiliating or making fun of the person. But the only thing the abuser wants is to gain power and control of the partner. More women experience emotional abuse than physical violence. 35% of all women who are or have been in married or common law relationships have experienced emotional abuse. In this type of abuse, women have a greater risk of being killed, and abusive partners are also a greater risk of committing murder or murder-suicide. Lastly, financial abuse. Financial abuse occurs when someone controls a person's financial resources without the person's consent or misuses those resources. Financial abuse includes, but is not limited to, not allowing the person to participate in educational programs, controlling the person's choice of occupation, not allowing access to bank accounts, savings, or other incomes, forging a signature on pension checks or legal documents. This is to control the partner in order to make the person feel hopeless enough to never leave. In some cases, a person might force a spouse to quit a job, or she might cause disruptions in the workplace to get the victim fired. Being financially manipulated can result in serious monetary instability. I listed here several domestic violence facts. For example, 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence during their lifetime. These types of abuse can happen to anyone, not just women. Also, men can go through this too. Also, these incidents happen more at home since there's more privacy at home. It's behind closed doors. The abusers take advantage of that. People ages 18 to 24 are at greater risk of being in a domestic violence incident. Mostly, all domestic violence are never reported. I seriously believe it is important to report domestic violence because it can affect the victim's psychological, which can lead to death. Thank you, and this concludes my presentation.